Hi everyone, today I'm going to talk about Sakigiri, or as some texts call it, going thin. As usual, I'll cover the textbook theory first, before discussing my own personal insights. So what is Sakigiri? Sakigiri is basically the act of discarding a potentially dangerous tile earlier, while keeping a safer tile in your hand. There is a trade-off between safety and efficiency, where you keep a safe tile to defend against other people, but you sacrifice a bit of efficiency in the process. Let's look at these two hands as an example. According to pure tile efficiency, you should throw the pei in both cases, as it is the most useless tile. However, if you notice, both hands have tiles that are both redundant and dangerous. Here, you can discard the 4M and the 3S to keep the pei as a safe tile in your hand, and then discard the pei once you hit Tenpai. This is called Sakigiri. So let's think about the logic behind this using the first example. Imagine I discard the pei first. Then somebody else on the table declares Riichi. Now I draw the 4S, and I need to push the 4M to be in Tenpai. However, if the 4M is not a safe tile, now I need to think about whether it's worth it to push the 4M. And there's also a chance that the 4M is really the winning tile, in which case I feed Ipatsu as well. So instead of putting yourself in this difficult situation, you can avoid it altogether by discarding the 4M earlier. This way, even if the same guy declares Riichi, he can also push with the pei, since it is a safe tile, and counter attack. Now I'll go over the conditions where you can Sakigiri that were mentioned in Diana Chiba's Riichi seminar, and this is the textbook approach. The first condition is to Sakigiri only when you're at least 2 Shanten. So here, both the pei discard and the 3M Sakigiri are okay. The second condition is to lock in a Dora Ryanman. So here, 3M is the Dora, so we can Sakigiri 2M to ensure that a block of 2 3M will always have a Dora inside. This prevents a situation where you discard the pei, then draw a 2M or 9P, which results in you having to discard the Dora 3M in order to reach Tenpai. This scenario also works if the Dora is a 1M or 4M instead. The third condition is when using the 6 block method. Here are two examples that Diana Chiba gave. In the first case, 5 block theory says to discard the 3P, but we can actually Sakigiri the 8P instead. Although we lose 4 tiles of acceptance, from 20 tiles to 16 tiles, this is made up for by the possibility of 2-3-4 Sanshoku if you draw the 2P or the 4P. In the second case, you can Sakigiri the 5S here. This allows you to postpone your choice of which Kanchan to discard, be it the 1-3M or the 6-8M. Now you know when to Sakigiri. The question is when not to Sakigiri. In summary, when the decrease in tile efficiency or value is so much that the increase in safety is not worth it, you should not Sakigiri. For instance, in this example, to Sakigiri would mean discarding the 8M and fixing the 7M pair. However, upon drawing 6M or 9M, notice that your tile acceptance actually doubles from 12 tiles to 24 tiles, so it's not worth it. Here, when you have 2 Ryankan shapes, know that it is not worth to Sakigiri and break either Ryankan because the risk of totally ruining the hand is too high. In this example, to Sakigiri will be discarding the 9M. However, notice that this also removes the possibility of 789 Shanshoku, and it sacrifices too much potential value. Now let's move on to my personal insights. I believe it's okay to Sakigiri where you need to fix a Yaku. So here's a screenshot from one of my more recent games, and notice that the hand has no promising Yaku other than Itsu, and I'm definitely not breaking apart the 2 Sozudora in my hand to try for Honinsu. So in this game, I decided to Sakigiri the 4P and the 8P, while keeping a safer Chun in my hand. Now in addition, if your hand is not particularly strong, I'll recommend keeping one safe tile in your hand after turn 8. This is because the average Riichi turn is 8.8, and you want to have the option to fold without totally destroying your hand. So if you ever see pros playing Riichi and you wonder why they keep random tiles in their hand, this is why. Lastly, if someone on the table is playing Honitsu, I recommend discarding tiles off their Honitsu early, as these tiles will become more dangerous the later the round goes. Now the exception to this is when the person playing Honitsu is your Shimocha. You usually don't want to keep feeding him tiles to complete his hand, because you also lose out if he summons a big hand. So funnily enough, there's actually an exception to this exception, but I won't cover it here. Maybe I'll save it for next time if I ever decide to make a video on how Mahjong is not a 1 vs 3 game. As always, if you want to see more of such videos, do leave a like and subscribe. It helps a lot with the YouTube algorithm. Thanks for sticking to the end, and I'll see you next time.